This video about Psalm 23 brings real, immediate comfort and answers. This psalm isn't just a religious text. It's an ancient guide to building a safe psychological refuge inside yourself. Written over 3,000 years ago, it's still the most reliable map for getting through the valleys of anxiety and emotional challenges of our 21st century. Think about it for a second. Empires have risen and fallen, world-changing technologies have become obsolete, but for over 100 generations through wars, pandemics, and personal crises, people have never stopped whispering these same words for comfort. That's not just tradition, it's definitive proof that they work. Today, we're not just going to read Psalm 23. We're going to decode this ancient soul technology so you can transform the way you see your fears. The goal is for you to stop seeing a valley of shadows and start seeing a safe path through it. It's no coincidence that kings on their deathbeds, soldiers in trenches, and leaders facing impossible decisions have looked for strength in these verses. They found here not just a simple prayer, but a resilience manual tested under the most extreme pressure. I want to be really honest with you. The beginning of the video brings immediate comfort, and it's very enlightening. But the real strength, the secret weapon of this psalm, is hidden in the final details. Trust the process and come with me. If this search for an unshakable strength makes sense to you too, show your support with a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dives. Part 1. Why does this ancient psalm still quiet modern anxiety? There is a sound to modern life. It's not loud, it is a quiet hum, a constant electrical static that lives just beneath the surface of everything. You can feel it when you wake up, before your feet even touch the floor. It's the subtle background noise of a world that never sleeps, a frequency of hurry and worry that has become so normal, we barely notice it's there. But our hearts notice, our bodies notice. That quiet hum is the source of so much of our exhaustion, that feeling of being spread thin, of running a race with no finish line. It's completely normal to feel like you are adrift in this ocean of noise, searching for a quiet shore. You're not alone in that feeling. It's the shared secret of our generation. We have more connection than ever, yet we feel more disconnected from ourselves. We are told to hustle, to optimize, to achieve, and in the process, we have forgotten the language of stillness. This is why we turn to these ancient words, not as an escape, but as an anchor. The promise of Psalm 23 is that it offers a way to tune out the static. Think of it not as a religious text, but as a piece of timeless, soul-level technology. It is a map, written 3,000 years ago, that still shows the way to a place of deep inner quiet. Empires have risen and fallen. Entire civilizations have vanished. Technologies that once seemed like magic are now relics. But for over 100 generations, through wars and plagues, through personal storms and silent nights of fear, human beings have whispered these same words to find their way back to peace. This isn't just about tradition, it is proof. It is data, gathered over millennia, that shows these words work. They work because they don't speak to the temporary problems of one era. They speak to the permanent operating system of the human heart. They address the core feelings of fear, of needing protection, of searching for us, that have been with us since the very beginning. This psalm is a reliable map for anxiety relief precisely because it understands the territory of the human soul better than any modern app or quick-fix solution ever could. It offers a true spiritual comfort, a deep and lasting peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. The beauty of this map is that it doesn't demand that you first fix yourself or become someone else. It meets you right here, in the middle of the noise, in the center of your exhaustion. The peace it offers is not a distant destination you must struggle to reach. It is a reality waiting to be uncovered, a quiet frequency waiting to be found. But to find it, you must take a first step. The journey from the endless static of anxiety to the quiet meadow of the soul begins with a single, simple instruction. The introduction to this video promised you immediate comfort, and that comfort begins in the very first verse. So, if this ancient psalm is the key to silencing the noise, what is the first practical instruction it gives us? What is the first thing it asks us to do to begin to calm our restless minds? Before we look at the words, feel this truth. You are standing at the edge of a great ancient forest. The air is thick with the noise of the world you just left behind. But before you, there is a path. It is a soft, earthen path, worn smooth by the footsteps of millions who have walked it before you. They were people who felt the same static you feel. They had their own fears, their own heartaches, their own sleepless nights, and they found their way through. Their courage and their faith have made this path clear for you. You do not have to invent a way to find peace. You do not have to cut through the wilderness on your own. You only need to trust the path that has been prepared. You only need to be willing to take that first step, to leave the noise behind and walk into the shelter of the trees. The path is here. It is waiting. The journey begins now. I am ready for quiet. I am open to peace. My journey is beginning. Part 2. What is the Psalm's first command for your overwhelmed mind? Imagine you are the captain of a small boat, caught in a vast, unpredictable sea. For days, maybe for years, you have been at the helm. Your hands are raw from gripping the wheel. Your eyes burn from staring at the endless horizon, searching for a landmark that never appears. Every muscle in your body is tense, braced for the next wave. You are the navigator, the engineer, the lookout, and the captain. The weight of every decision, the safety of the entire vessel, rests on your weary shoulders. It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant pressure to steer correctly, to anticipate the storms, to manage the supplies, to hold everything together. This is the burden our modern minds carry. We have been taught that we are the sole captains of our lives, and the strain of it is breaking us. The Psalm's first instruction, the very first step on that quiet, ancient path, is a moment of profound relief. It is the feeling of a presence beside you in the storm. A master mariner, a captain who knows these waters like the back of his hand, gently places his hand over yours and says, with unshakable calm, "I have the watch now. You can rest." This is the meaning behind the first 4 words of the psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. This is not a passive statement of belief. It is an active, conscious decision. It is the most powerful act of self-care your soul will ever perform. It is the act of resigning from a job you were never meant to have, the job of being your own God. It is the beautiful, liberating choice to stop being your own shepherd. A shepherd is a guide, a protector, a provider, and a healer. To be a good shepherd to yourself, you would need to be able to see the future perfectly, to have unlimited resources, to protect yourself from all harm, and to heal your own deepest wounds. It is an impossible task. It is the source of our anxiety, the root of our mental burden. So the psalm begins not with a demand, but with an invitation to delegate, to hand over the impossible job description of self-preservation to the one being who is actually qualified for the role. Saying "the Lord is my shepherd" is the soul finally exhaling. It is the release of that white-knuckled grip on the wheel. It is the beginning of the construction of that safe, psychological refuge we all crave. The first foundation stone is simply this: I am not in charge of everything. And thank God for that. This is a beautiful thought, a comforting idea. But this psalm is not about ideas. It is about a lived experience. It promises real, tangible results. So, once you make this decision, once you choose to accept this guidance and let go of that impossible burden, what happens next? What is the immediate, tangible consequence that the psalm promises we will feel in our daily lives? If having a shepherd is the very first step, how does it change the way we experience our reality today, in this very moment? Think of your mind as a noisy boardroom. All day long, there's a meeting in session. The committee members are your fears, your worries, your insecurities, and your past hurts. And they all have a voice. Fear of the future gives a long presentation about everything that could go wrong. Insecurity insists you aren't good enough for the next challenge. Past regret keeps showing slides of your old mistakes. And you, the CEO, are sitting at the head of the table, trying to manage them all, trying to make decisions while they all shout for your attention. Declaring "the Lord is my shepherd" is the moment you stand up and calmly interrupt the chaos. You look at all the noisy committee members and say, "Thank you for your input, but I am no longer in charge of the final outcome. The ultimate responsibility has been delegated." You are not ignoring the fears. You are simply changing the authority structure. You are telling them to take their concerns to your shepherd. You are no longer the one who has to solve everything. This act of trust brings an immediate quiet to the boardroom of the mind. It is the beginning of peace. I can let go now. I am not alone at the helm. I am gently guided. Part 3. How does this psalm prove that peace is not the absence of problems? Imagine for a moment you are a traveler, walking under a hot sun in a vast, dry desert. Your mind is fixed on the horizon, consumed by a single, desperate thought: water. You scan the shimmering heat waves, looking for a distant glimmer of an oasis, a promise of relief that is somewhere up ahead. You map your entire journey based on what you hope to find in the future, and your present reality is filled with the ache of thirst and the fear of what you lack. You are so focused on the horizon, so driven by the want of what is not yet here, that you fail to notice it. The gentle weight against your back, the slight sloshing sound with every step, the very thing you are searching for, a canteen full of cool, clean water, has been with you the entire time. The immediate consequence of having a shepherd, the first tangible gift of that trust, is the quiet realization that you are carrying everything you need for the journey right now. It is the moment you stop, unscrew the cap, and take a long, deep drink of the present moment. This is the profound and often misunderstood meaning of the next words in the psalm: I shall not want. Our world, the world of that constant, anxious hum, reads this as a promise of acquisition. I will get everything I want. A bigger house, a better job, a life free of problems. But this is a shallow interpretation. The psalm's wisdom runs much deeper. It is not a promise of a problem-free future. It is a declaration of a fear-free present. The true meaning is, I lack nothing essential. In this moment, I am complete. It is a radical shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of sufficiency. A sheep under the care of a good shepherd is not anxious about tomorrow's pasture or the pasture over the next hill. Its entire world is the patch of green grass it stands on now, and it is enough. The presence of the shepherd is the guarantee that its needs are met. This is how the psalm provides a real and immediate answer to our deepest anxieties about the future. It proves that peace is not found when all our problems are solved. Peace is found when we realize we have all the resources we need to face the problems of today. We understand now, intellectually, what it means to feel this sufficiency, this present moment abundance. But our feelings often lag behind our understanding. The world is still chaotic, our lives are still demanding. So how does the psalm actually guide us to find this state of contentment? How do we stop staring at the horizon and start drinking from the water we already have? What is the specific environment, both inside and out, that we need to create to truly live in this peace? Think of your heart as a house. For many of us, we live with the front door wide open. The cold winds of what if about the future and the dusty drafts of if only from the past are always blowing through. They rattle the windows and kick up the dust, making it impossible for the house to ever feel warm, settled, or safe. We spend our energy trying to shout over the wind, or worse, we run outside and try to command the weather to change. The practice of I shall not want is the simple, gentle act of walking to the front door of your heart and quietly closing it. It is not an act of aggression. You are not locking the world out. You are simply deciding that for this moment, you will allow the inner space of your home to be warm. You are choosing to feel the comfort of the chair you are sitting in, to notice the steady rhythm of your own breathing, to enjoy the quiet stillness of the room. By closing the door to want, you open up the space for gratitude. And in that warm, quiet space, you discover that the peace you were searching for outside was already here, waiting for you to come home to it. I am not in want. I have enough for this moment. My heart is a peaceful home. Part 4. Where does the psalm command us to rest when the world commands us to run? Think of a small, forgotten garden in the backyard of your mind. For years, the soil has been overworked. The constant demands of life, the endless notifications, the pressure to always be growing and producing, have depleted it of all its nutrients. The ground is hard, cracked, and dry. You keep trying to plant new seeds of hope and new projects, of ambition, but nothing grows. The effort only leaves you more tired, staring at the barren plot and wondering why you are failing. You have forgotten the most fundamental law of nature. The soil cannot give what it does not have. Before it can ever produce a harvest, it must first be allowed to rest. It needs a season of stillness, a time to simply be, to absorb the rain and the sun without the pressure of performance. This is the environment of peace the psalm invites us into. It is not a place you must strive to get to. It is a permission slip you must learn to give yourself. This is the gentle, loving wisdom behind the next words of the psalm. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Notice the language. He makes me. In our culture of relentless self-optimization, this can sound like a command, another thing to do on our checklist. But the shepherd does not force the sheep to the ground. A shepherd knows that a sheep will only lie down when two conditions are met. It must be free from all fear, and it must be free from all friction and agitation. The shepherd's job is to create that environment of safety and peace. This verse, then, is not a command to be obeyed, but a release to be accepted. It is the universe, God, the shepherd, giving you the explicit permission you have been denying yourself. Permission to rest. The green pastures are not a physical destination. They are a state of mind where you cease all striving. It is the sacred space you create when you decide that for a few moments, your only job is to breathe. This is the psalm's first practical step for building that psychological refuge. It teaches us that peace is not achieved through more effort, but through a radical act of surrender. Resting the body may seem possible, but how do we silence the mind that continues to run, the thoughts that keep plowing that exhausted soil? What is the next instruction from the psalm for our thirsty, restless souls? Imagine your mind is a snow globe, filled with the frantic, swirling white flakes of your worries and your to-do lists. All day long, life shakes the globe, and the blizzard inside never settles. You cannot see clearly through the chaos. You try to fix it by shaking it more, by analyzing the flakes, by trying to catch them one by one. But the shepherd's wisdom is different. He simply takes the globe from your trembling hands, places it on a steady, quiet surface, and waits with you. He does not fight the storm. He provides the stillness that allows the storm to settle on its own. The green pastures are the act of placing the snow globe down. It is the choice to stop shaking your own mind with worry and to simply allow the blizzard to rest. I give myself permission to rest. My only work is to be still. I am placing my mind on a steady surface. Part 5. What is the difference between water and the psalm's still waters? Think of yourself standing on the bank of a raging, muddy river. The current is powerful, filled with debris and the churning chaos of your anxieties. This is the state of a mind that is desperately seeking solutions in the middle of a crisis. We thirst for clarity, so we rush to this chaotic river of information, of opinions, of frantic action, and we try to drink from it. But the water is murky, and the current threatens to pull us under. We end up more confused and exhausted than before. The shepherd knows we are thirsty, but he does not lead us to this raging river. He knows that true clarity is not found in the noisy torrent of more information, but in the profound silence of a different kind of water. He leads us to a small, hidden pool deep in the forest. The water here is perfectly still and perfectly clear. In its silence, you can see all the way to the bottom. In its stillness, the entire sky is reflected perfectly on its surface. This is the promise of the next line of the psalm. He leads me beside the still waters. The shepherd is showing us a revolutionary truth. The cure for our thirst is not more churning, but more stillness. The still waters are a state of inner quiet where the sediment of our fear can settle, and the sky of truth can be reflected without distortion. It is a quiet pool of meditation, of prayer, of simply being silent for a few moments, allowing the mud to settle so that we can finally drink the clear water of wisdom. The psalm has now given us a place to rest our bodies in the green pastures, and a place to calm our minds beside the still waters. This practice brings an immediate sense of peace. But what is the ultimate result of this? What happens to our very identity, to the core of our being, when we regularly visit these places of rest and quiet? What does this practice do for our soul? Imagine your soul is a piece of beautiful, soft cloth that over time has become wrinkled, creased, and twisted by the pressures of life. It is still the same essential cloth, but its true nature is obscured by the tight knots of worry and the deep creases of past hurts. You cannot smooth it out by pulling it harder or by twisting it in the opposite direction. The only way to restore it is to gently dip it into cool, clean water and allow the stillness of the water to slowly, patiently release the wrinkles. The cloth does not have to do anything. It simply has to surrender to the water, and the water does its work. This is what happens to our soul when we rest beside the still waters. It is a gentle release, a slow unfurling, a return to our original, smooth, and peaceful state. I turn from the raging river of noise. I seek the still pool of peace. I allow the waters of quiet to restore my soul. Part 6. How does the psalm restore a soul that feels broken? Imagine your soul is a beautiful handcrafted instrument, perhaps a cello or a guitar, created to play a unique and resonant song. When it was first made, it was perfectly in tune, but over time, through the bumps and travels of life, the strings have loosened. Some were tightened too much by anxiety, others were slackened by disappointment. Now, when you try to play, the sound is dissonant. It feels wrong, jarring. You still know the song that is in your heart, but the instrument can no longer produce it. This is what it feels like when our soul is out of alignment. It is not broken, it is simply out of tune. The stillness of the green pastures, the clarity of the quiet waters. This is the safe and silent room where the master musician, the shepherd of your soul, can begin the gentle work of restoration. A sacred retuning. This is the heart of the promise in the psalm's next words: He restores my soul. The original Hebrew word for restore also carries the meaning of to bring back or to cause a return. This is a crucial distinction. The psalm is not promising to fix something that is broken. It is promising to bring your soul back home to its original state. It is a return to your true self, the self that exists underneath the layers of fear, expectation, and conditioning that life has placed upon you. In the quiet, the shepherd gently turns the tuning pegs, not with force, but with a loving and patient touch, until the dissonance fades and a deep, true harmony begins to vibrate through your entire being. This is not a painful repair. It is a peaceful remembering of the song you were always meant to sing. This process of restoration is the true purpose of the rest. It is a profound and active healing that takes place in the stillness. Our soul is restored. Our inner instrument is in tune once more. But for what purpose? Is this restored harmony just for our own enjoyment, to be kept in the silent room? Or is this retuning a preparation for something? Where does the psalm guide us to? Go, now that we are ready to make music again. Think of your soul as a magnificent ancient tree. Over the years, ivy has grown over it. The thick, clinging vines of other people's opinions, the heavy moss of your own self-doubt, the tangled branches of past hurts. From a distance, you might not even see the tree anymore, just the overgrowth. The restoration of your soul is the gentle, patient work of untangling and removing that ivy. You are not cutting down the tree. You are simply freeing it. You are pulling away the things that are not it, so that the true, strong bark and the powerful, essential shape of the tree can be seen again. You are not building something new. You are revealing the strength and beauty that was always there. My soul is returning to its home. The song of my heart is becoming clear. I am revealing my true self. Part 7. Does the psalm promise an easy path or a right path? Imagine you are standing at the edge of a high mountain lake. The water is perfectly still and so clear that you can see the smooth stones on the bottom. This lake is your soul, recently restored to its natural state of harmony. For a long time, this water was trapped. But now the shepherd has opened a small channel. The water begins to move. It does not ask for a map. It does not worry about which direction to go. With a gentle, knowing pull, It begins to flow, spilling over the edge and forming a small stream. It moves without effort, following the natural contours of the land. It curves around a large rock here. It finds a softer patch of earth there. It is not striving or forcing its way. It is simply flowing, creating its own perfect path as it goes. This is how the Psalm's peace translates into guidance. This is the living experience behind the Psalm's next declaration. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. We often read the phrase, paths of righteousness, and think of a rigid, narrow road of moral perfection. But the essence of this promise is far more gentle and organic. It is about being guided onto the path that is right for you, the one that is in perfect alignment with your restored soul. It is the path of authenticity. Just as the river's path is an expression of the nature of water, your right path is the one that allows the truth of who you are to flow into the world. The guidance is not a loud voice from the sky. It is a quiet inner knowing, a feeling of rightness, like the effortless flow of the river. It is not a promise of an easy path, but a promise of a true one. So we learn to trust this inner flow. The peace is no longer just a passive state of rest. It has become an active internal guidance system. We have a guide, we have sustenance, we have a path. It seems that the journey is now complete and secure. But what happens when this path of truth, this river of our soul's purpose, does not lead to a sunny open field, but instead turns directly toward the one place we fear most? Think of your intuition as a compass in your heart. The needle of this compass is your sense of inner truth. When you are surrounded by the loud magnetic interference of the world, the clang of expectations, the buzz of fear, the needle spins wildly. You feel lost, unable to find your true north. The time spent in the green pastures is the act of stepping away from that interference, creating enough inner silence for the compass to settle. The shepherd's guidance is not about giving you a map of the entire journey. Instead, he helps you clear away the noise so you can see where your own compass is pointing. The compass does not promise the terrain ahead will be smooth. It only promises that north is the right way to go. I trust the quiet flow of my life. My inner compass is clear. I am walking my true path, not the easy one. Part 8. How does the psalm prepare us for the inevitable valley? The compass of our soul has settled, and we are walking our true path. The river of our life is flowing with purpose. There is a sense of peace, a sense of rightness in our journey. And then the landscape begins to change. The open fields give way to high canyon walls. The sunlight begins to fade, and the air grows cold. The path ahead leads directly into a dark, narrow passage. This is the moment of our greatest test. The moment our rational mind screams, "This cannot be the right path. A loving guide would not lead me here." We are tempted to believe we have made a terrible mistake, but it is here that the psalm gives us one of its most profound and comforting secrets. The valley is not a detour. It is part of the map. This is the honest and courageous truth of the words, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." The psalm does not deny the existence of the valley. It does not promise a life free from darkness, from grief, from fear, or from pain. It acknowledges that the path of righteousness, the path of a meaningful life, will sometimes lead us directly through the heart of our greatest fears. Shepherds in ancient Israel knew that the only way to get the flock from the dry lowland pastures to the lush green pastures on the high plateaus was to lead them through the deep, shadowy canyons that cut through the mountains. The valley was not the destination. It was the necessary corridor to a better place. The psalm prepares us by telling us the truth. The valley will come, but it is just a passage. We are meant to walk through it. The psalm admits we will enter the valley. It acknowledges the shadow, the fear, the darkness. And yet, in the very next breath, it makes one of the most audacious claims in all of literature: "I will fear no evil." How is this possible? When we are surrounded by the very things that cause us the most fear, how can we logically claim to feel no fear? What is the secret spiritual physics behind this incredible courage? Think of a deep-sea diver. preparing to descend into the crushing darkness of the ocean abyss. The danger is real. The pressure is immense. The darkness is absolute. The diver's courage does not come from pretending that the ocean is not dangerous. Their courage comes from the integrity of the lifeline that connects them to the surface. It is a thick, powerful cable that provides a constant supply of oxygen, a connection for communication, and the strength to pull them back to the light. The diver can face the pressure of the deep because they are not alone. They are tethered to a source of life and safety. The psalm prepares us for the valley by reminding us that we too have a lifeline. The valley is on my map. It is not a mistake. It is a passageway. My courage is not in my own strength, but in the lifeline that connects me to my guide. Part 9. What is the spiritual physics of the psalm that cancels fear? Imagine you are a small child again, lying in bed in a dark room. A sliver of light from the hallway casts long, dancing shadows on the wall. Your mind turns a pile of clothes into a crouching monster. Your heart beats fast. The darkness itself feels like a threat. You are utterly alone and terrified. Now, picture the door opening quietly. Your parent walks in and takes your hand. The room does not change. The darkness is just as deep. The shadows are still there. But in an instant, everything inside you is transformed. The fear evaporates, not because the shadows have vanished, but because a trusted, loving presence has entered the space. Your hand is being held. You are no longer alone. The darkness has lost all its power. This is the secret spiritual physics the psalm reveals. It is a law as real as gravity. The presence of perfect love cancels out fear. This is the profound logic behind the declaration, "I will fear no evil, for you are with me." The psalm's courage is not based on the absence of danger, but on the presence of the shepherd. The equation is simple. The fear of evil cannot coexist in the same space as the felt reality of the shepherd's presence. One must give way to the other. This is the arma secreta, the secret weapon the introduction spoke of. It doesn't deny the existence of the valley. It simply introduces a greater reality. The reality of your fear is temporary and subjective. The reality of the shepherd's presence is eternal and absolute. When you are in the valley, the practice is to shift your focus from the size of the shadows to the steadfastness of the hand that holds yours. The shepherd's presence is the antidote to fear. The presence itself brings comfort. It is the ultimate lifeline. But the psalm goes even further. It tells us that the shepherd is not passive in the valley. He is active, and he carries specific tools to make his presence known and to help us on the journey. So what are these tools? How can we feel them and use them in our own lives today? Think about the source of a shadow. To exist, it requires two things: a source of light and an object standing in the light's path. When you are in the valley and a shadow of fear falls upon you, you have a choice. You can stare at the shadow, study its shape, fear its size, and run from it. Or you can do what a child does when they see their own shadow on the ground. They turn around to face the sun. The psalm invites this reorientation. When fear appears, do not fixate on the shadow it casts. Instead, turn your heart toward the light and remember the presence of the one who is walking with you. He is the object of substance. He is the one standing with you in the light, casting a shadow of protection over you. His presence is the reality. The fear is just an illusion created by a blocked light. I am not alone in this darkness. A loving presence is with me. I shift my focus from my fear to my guide. Part 10. What are the two tools the psalm provides for navigating the darkness? Imagine a toddler just learning to walk. Their world is a mix of excitement and peril. A loving parent walks with the child, their attention fully present. They use their two hands in two different vital ways. With one hand, they reach out ahead, offering a finger for the child to hold, a gentle guiding force to encourage them forward. This is the hand of direction. With the other hand, the parent hovers close behind, ready in an instant to block the child from a dangerous fall or to create a firm barrier between them and a hot stove. This is the hand of protection. The child's confidence comes from both. They feel free to explore because they are being guided, and they feel safe to stumble because they know they will be protected. These are the two specific tools the shepherd uses to make his presence tangible in the valley. This is the deeper meaning woven into the next line of the psalm. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. These were the two essential tools of a shepherd. The staff was the long hooked stick. It was a tool of gentle guidance, used to nudge sheep in the right direction, and its crook was used to gently rescue a sheep that had fallen. The staff is the comfort of the outstretched hand, the promise of rescue, the whisper of this way. But the rod was different. It was a shorter, heavier club. It was a weapon used to fight off wolves and other predators. It was the shepherd's strength. It was also used for correction, a firm tap on a sheep that was wandering toward danger. The rod is the comfort of the protective hand, the promise of safety, the firm boundary that keeps evil away and also keeps us from our own worst impulses. True comfort comes from knowing that both are at work. We are guided and we are guarded. We are rescued when we fall and we are protected when we are attacked. With these two tools, we are completely safe in the valley. This seems to be the climax of our journey of survival. But the psalm is about to do something completely unexpected. Now that we feel safe, the shepherd reveals that his plan for us in the valley is not just survival. What does he prepare for us, right in the middle of the danger? Think of your life as a river. The gentle current that pulls you forward, that makes certain choices feel right and natural. That is the shepherd's staff. It is the joy of moving in your purpose. But what about the riverbanks? The hard, rocky edges that you sometimes bump up against. The places where the flow is narrowed. These banks are the shepherd's rod. A closed door, a failed project, a path that is blocked. We often see these as punishments, but they are the loving, protective boundaries that keep the river from becoming a shallow, stagnant swamp. They give our life direction and power. The riverbanks are not a prison. They are what allow the river to become a river at all. Seeing life's limitations in this way, as the firm, protective guidance of the rod, is a source of incredible peace. I am protected from harm. I am guided with gentleness. Both discipline and direction are my comfort. Part 11. Why does the psalm prepare? A feast in the worst possible place? Imagine you are a soldier in the heart of a long and wearying battle. Your enemies press in on all sides. All your energy is focused on one thing: survival. You find a small, protected space behind a rock, grateful for a moment of safety. But then, your king appears. He does not just give you a new shield. He does something utterly astonishing. He walks into the middle of the battlefield, and in the full view of your enemies, he spreads a magnificent feast. He gestures for you to sit, to eat, to rest. The danger has not vanished. It has simply been rendered powerless by the authority of the king. They are forced to stand and watch as you are honored by the one they could not defeat. You are not just surviving the battle, you are feasting at its center. This is the radical, mind-altering shift the psalm makes from a story of survival to a story of triumphant honor. This is the incredible scene painted by the next words. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. This is one of the most powerful psychological reversals ever written. The journey so far has brought us to a place of safety in the valley. But the shepherd's vision for us is infinitely greater than mere safety. He prepares a feast, and the presence of our enemies is a key part of the guest list. Our enemies, our fears, our anxieties, our self-doubts, are made to be the silent witnesses of our vindication. The shepherd's message is clear. My power to care for you is so absolute that your enemies are no longer a threat. They are merely an audience for the honor I am about to bestow upon you. The valley of fear is transformed into a hall of honor. This is the ultimate fulfillment of the promise that this psalm is a manual of resilience. Resilience is not just the ability to endure. It is the ability to find nourishment and even joy in the very places that were meant to break you. To sit at this table is a deliberate act of faith, a declaration that your host is greater than your fears. But if simply being invited to this table is such a powerful act of courage and victory, what does the psalm say happens next to seal this moment, to mark you as the undisputed guest of honor, to bring this powerful image into your life? Think of your mind as a room. Outside the door are your enemies, the clamoring voices of your to-do list, the whispers of past failures, the loud shouts of future worries. The practice of preparing a table is a quiet act of defiance. You turn your back to the door. You do not argue with the voices. You simply ignore them. Instead, you focus on setting a beautiful place for one. You light a candle. You make a warm cup of tea. You put on music that soothes your soul. You deliberately choose to feast on peace, on gratitude, on stillness, right there, while the enemies are still making a noise outside. You are not pretending. They don't exist. You are simply declaring that they have no seat at your table. I have a place at the table. My fears are only spectators. I choose to feast on peace. Part 12. What is the meaning of the oil the psalm pours over us? Imagine you are a traveler who has just walked for days through a harsh, dusty desert. You are weary to the bone, your skin is cracked from the sun, and your mind is clouded with exhaustion. You finally arrive at the home of a friend. But their welcome goes far beyond just giving you a place to sit. They gently guide you to a comfortable chair, and with a soft cloth, they wipe the dust from your tired face. Then, they take a small jar of fragrant, cooling oil, and they gently massage it onto your forehead, soothing the headache from the sun and smoothing the worry from your brow. It is an act of incredible tenderness, a personal touch that says, "You are cherished here, your journey is seen. Let me care for your wounds." This is the intimate, personal honor the shepherd bestows upon you at his table in the valley. This is the experience captured in the next line of the psalm, "You anoint my head with oil." In the ancient world, this was a mark of great honor for a special guest. It was a soothing balm for the weary, a way of washing away the grime of the journey and welcoming them into a place of rest and dignity. This is the shepherd's touch, healing the hidden scrapes and bruises you collected while walking through the valley. It is a moment of deep, personal healing for your anxieties. It is a consecration, a marking of you as holy and beloved. It is the shepherd looking at you after all you have been through and declaring, "You are worthy of this honor. You are worthy of this healing. You are my cherished guest." This act seals your victory over the fears that watch you from the shadows. So we have been seated at the table of honor. We have been healed and consecrated with the anointing oil. The victory seems complete. But the shepherd's generosity has one more level. His provision is not just sufficient. It is not just honorable. It is extravagant. What happens next to the cup that is in our hands? To understand the oil, think of your heart as a beautiful wooden door that has been out in the weather for too long. The sun and the rain of life have made it dry, cracked, and faded. You can still use the door, but it has lost its luster and its strength. The anointing oil is like a deep, nourishing wood treatment. It is slowly and gently rubbed into the grain, and as it sinks in, the wood drinks it up. The cracks are sealed. The deep, rich color returns. The wood becomes supple and resilient again, able to withstand any weather. This is what the shepherd's healing oil does for a heart made weary by the world. It restores your soul to its original, beautiful, and resilient condition. My journey is seen and honored. My wounds are being healed with a gentle touch. My heart is being restored to its original strength and beauty. Part 13. What does it mean to have a cup that overflows according to the psalm? Imagine your soul as a vessel, a simple cup held in your hands. For much of your life, you have lived with a deep anxiety about what is inside it. You are constantly checking the level, worried it is running low, fearful that a single thirsty day might leave you empty. This is the mindset of scarcity. When the shepherd anoints your head with oil, he is honoring and healing you. But when he fills your cup, he does something even more profound. He does not just pour from a pitcher. He places your cup directly under a cool, unending mountain spring. The water fills it to the brim, and then it keeps flowing, spilling over the sides in a constant, shimmering cascade. The shepherd's action is a message. Stop worrying about the level in the cup. I have not come to just fill your vessel. I have come to connect you to the source. This is the life-altering reality behind the Psalm's triumphant declaration, "My cup runs over." This is the moment we fully graduate from a survival mindset to a state of boundless, spiritual abundance. For the entire journey through the valley, our focus was on receiving guidance, protection, comfort, and honor. But the overflowing cup marks a divine turning point. It is the sign that you have received so much of the shepherd's grace that you can no longer contain it. It has to spill out. You cease to be merely a recipient of comfort and become a source of comfort for others. This is the ultimate transformation promised in the introduction. You are no longer just a protected sheep. You have become a walking, breathing expression of the shepherd's own generosity. This is a state of being that is almost impossible for our anxious minds to comprehend. To be so full that we never have to worry about being empty again. This victory over the fear of scarcity, this feeling of unending spiritual supply, feels like a perfect destination. It seems like the happiest possible ending to the story of the valley. But is this where the psalm leaves us? Are abundance and victory the end of the story? Or are they the beginning of a new promise for the rest of our lives? What does the psalm guarantee for all our tomorrows? To live in this overflow, think of your heart as a jar of honey. When the jar is full to the very top, the slightest touch, the gentlest tilt, will cause the sweet golden honey to spill over the edge. The honey does not decide to be generous. It does not calculate how much it can afford to give. It simply overflows because it is full. This is the practice the psalm invites us into. The focus is not on the external act of giving. It is on the internal state of being full. It is the daily practice of staying connected to the source, of allowing ourselves to be filled with so much gratitude, peace, and love that generosity becomes the natural, effortless, and sweet consequence of our own inner abundance. I am connected to the eternal source. My cup is not just full, it is overflowing. From this abundance, my life will flow. Part 14. How does this psalm rewrite the script of your future? For most of our lives, we operate under a single exhausting assumption that we are the authors of our own future. We believe that if we just work hard enough and make all the right choices, we can write a story for ourselves that ends in happiness. This pressure turns our life into a frantic chase. We are constantly pursuing success, pursuing security, pursuing a feeling of peace that always seems just over the horizon. The question that haunts our quiet moments is always, what will become of tomorrow? The psalm's final promise reveals a staggering truth. The chase is real, but we have mistaken our role in it. You are not the pursuer. You are the one being pursued. This is the radical script flip hidden in the promise. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. In our language, the word follow sounds gentle, almost passive. But the original Hebrew word used here, radaf, is one of the most active and relentless words in the language. It means to chase, to hunt, to pursue with intense purpose. The psalm is not saying that goodness and mercy will gently trail behind you. It is declaring that the shepherd has dispatched two of his most powerful angels, goodness and mercy, and given them a single unending mission, to hunt you down with blessings and chase you with grace every single day for the rest of your life. This changes everything. The story of your future is no longer a frantic search for a distant light. It is the story of a relentless light that is actively searching for you. This is the psalm's final answer to the noisy anxiety about tomorrow. It doesn't offer a detailed map of the years ahead. It offers something far better. A guaranteed escort. Goodness is the shepherd's tireless provision, the force that brings you what you need. Mercy is his endless pardon, the grace that covers your mistakes. You do not need to earn their companionship. They are a permanent assignment, a gift that flows directly from the overflowing cup. With this escort, we no longer need to fear the journey. But what is the destination? Where are goodness and mercy relentlessly chasing us to? What is the final true home that this psalm promises at the end of this beautiful, protected path? To feel this new script in your daily life, Imagine you are driving a car on a long road trip. So much of our anxiety comes from staring intensely through the front windshield, trying to anticipate every danger up ahead. This verse invites you to relax your white-knuckle grip on the steering wheel and, for a moment, glance in your rear-view mirror. Imagine what you see there: two bright, powerful, loving headlights. It is your permanent escort, goodness and mercy, following you faithfully. They will handle the dangers that sneak up from behind. They will be there if you break down. Knowing you are being followed by such a powerful and loving presence allows you to face the road ahead, not with frantic fear, but with a calm and settled confidence. My story has been rewritten. I am not chasing peace. I am being chased by it. Goodness and mercy are my constant companions. Part 15. Where is the house that the psalm promises as a final destination? Imagine a great sea turtle gliding with ancient calm through the vast and often turbulent ocean. Storms may rage and powerful currents may pull, but the turtle is never homeless. It carries its sanctuary on its back. Its shell is a perfect, portable fortress of peace, a place of belonging that is part of its very being. No matter where its journey takes it, the turtle is always, completely, home. For so long we have felt like we are swimming in that same vast ocean of life without such a shell, exposed to every storm. We have been searching for a distant shore, a safe harbor. But the final revelation of the psalm is that goodness and mercy have not been chasing you toward a place on a map. They have been chasing you inward, guiding you to the profound realization that, like the turtle, you were created to carry your home with you. This is the ultimate destination, the final resting place, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is the end of the story and the beginning of a new reality. To dwell is not to visit. It is to settle down, to unpack your bags for good. And the house of the Lord is not a distant place we hope to go to one day. It is a state of being, a permanent conscious connection to the loving presence of your guide that you can inhabit right now. The entire psalm has been a blueprint for building this inner sanctuary. The green pastures were the foundation. The quiet waters were the walls. The feast in the valley was the warming hearth. Now, the construction is complete. You have built the secure psychological refuge the introduction promised, and the psalm invites you to move in for good. This is the final seal on our victory. This is the deep, settled peace that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. The map of Psalm 23 has led us home. The journey is complete and we carry our sanctuary with us. But we are wise enough to know that the journey of life itself is not over. The world will continue to be noisy. So how do we maintain this deep-seated confidence when a new, unexpected valley of shadows appears on the horizon? How do we ensure this peace is not just a comforting theory, but becomes our immediate, practical, and unshakable response to any future fear? To practice living from this place, think of your life as a large, busy, and sometimes chaotic house. It is easy to spend all your time in the main living areas, caught up in the noise. But inside every house there is a quiet room. The practice of dwelling is the simple, conscious act of choosing to step into that quiet inner room of your heart for a few moments each day. You close the door not to escape your life, but to anchor yourself in the peace that is always available. You sit in the silent presence of the shepherd that lives there. This is not a duty, it is a homecoming. And the more you visit this inner sanctuary, the more you will carry its peace and silence with you when you step back out into the busy rooms of your life. I carry my home within me. My sanctuary is always here. I am dwelling in peace forever. Part 16. How to turn the reading of the psalm into a conditioned reflex against fear. Imagine a firefighter standing calmly in the heart of a raging inferno. They are not consulting a manual. Their movements are fluid, immediate, and effective. They operate from a place of deep, instinctual knowledge. This calm was not born in that moment. It was forged over hundreds of hours of practice in times of peace. They ran drills, they checked their equipment, they walked through simulated emergencies over and over again until the correct response was no longer a thought, but a reflex. In our calm moments, we read the beautiful truths of the psalm, and they make perfect sense. But the moment the alarm bells of a real-life crisis go off, our minds go blank, and we revert to our old reflexes of panic and fear. We know the truth, but we haven't trained our souls to use it under pressure. This is the bridge we must now build, from intellectual understanding to embodied wisdom. The question was, how do we maintain this peace when a new valley appears? The answer is this. We begin to treat the psalm not as a poem to be admired, but as a training drill to be practiced. Reading these words in the quiet of the morning is not just a religious exercise. This is you, the firefighter of your own soul, running a drill. You are intentionally carving the neural pathways of peace in your brain. You are building the spiritual muscle memory of trust. Each time you whisper, "The Lord is my shepherd," you are doing one more repetition, making the reflex stronger. This is how the psalm transforms from a comforting idea into a conditioned reflex that can actually save you in a fire. This is how the words work. They work not through magic, but through practice. This practice of carving the path of Psalm 23 into our hearts is our core strategy. It is our main road home. But what about those moments when we are so lost that we can't even find the beginning of the path? Are there other ancient words, other psalms that can act like a compass, helping us find our bearings when we are completely disoriented and don't even know which direction to turn? To begin this practice, think of your mind as a dense forest. For years, the path of anxiety has been walked every day, and it is now a wide, clear road. It is easy and automatic for your thoughts to travel down it. The path of peace from Psalm 23 may be a tiny, overgrown trail. To make it your new default, you must walk it intentionally, every single day. The first few times, it will feel like work, but soon the undergrowth will be trampled. The way will become clearer. Eventually, you will have worn such a deep, comfortable groove that this path of peace becomes the easiest, most natural one for your mind to take. Start small. Choose one verse. He makes me lie down in green pastures. For 1 week, let that be your path. Walk it in the morning. Visit it at night. Wear it down until it feels like home. In times of calm, I train for the storm. These words are becoming my reflex. I am carving a path of peace in my own mind. Part 17. Which psalm to use when you can't even begin the journey? Imagine you are a hiker, lost in a dense and unfamiliar forest. The fog is so thick you can barely see your own hands. You have a perfect, detailed map of the entire region in your pocket. That is your Psalm 23. But the map is useless right now. To use a map, you must know where you are and which direction you are facing. In the disorienting fog of a true crisis, you know neither. Panic sets in. You feel completely stuck, paralyzed. The first and only thing you can do is to stop, be still, and wait for a landmark. You wait, and for just a moment, the fog thins, and through a gap, you see the majestic, unmoving peak of a great mountain. You don't know its name. It is not your destination. But in an instant, you know which way is west. You have found your bearings. Now, and only now, can you pull out your map. This is the powerful role of another ancient song, Psalm 121. If Psalm 23 is the detailed map for the journey, Psalm 121 is the compass you use when you are too lost to even begin. It is for those moments of paralyzing despair when you feel so stuck that the idea of a journey seems impossible. It is the soul's emergency protocol, and it begins with the simplest action. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. Where does my help come from? This is not a complex theological statement. It is a primal human cry. It is the hiker in the fog looking for a landmark. It is the admission that I, in my own confusion, am not enough. I must look for a source of stability and strength that is outside of myself. The psalm immediately answers, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." This psalm is the first step before the first step. It is the tool that allows you to find the beginning of the path that Psalm 23 lays out. It can cut through the fog of external challenges. But what happens when the fog is not outside, but inside? What do we do when the enemy isn't the terrain, but a deep and bleeding wound within our own heart? Which words from this ancient pharmacy can speak directly to that kind of intimate internal pain? To use this compass in your own life, think of a person who has fallen into a deep, dark pit. The walls are smooth and there is no ladder. They can spend all their energy scrambling, trying to find a foothold, exhausting themselves. But there is only one action that can lead to their rescue. They must stop scrambling, tilt their head back, and look up. Looking up does not get them out of the pit, but it is the only direction from which help can come. It is an act of surrendering your own failing efforts and positioning yourself to receive the help that is waiting. When you feel stuck, literally stop what you are doing, unclench your fists, and lift your chin. Look up. This simple physical act is a prayer in itself. When I am lost, I will look up. When I am stuck, I will be still. My help comes from a source far greater than my problem. Part 18. Which psalm is the specialist in broken hearts? Imagine a beautiful, priceless ceramic bowl, a work of art cherished for generations. One day it slips and shatters on the floor. The sound itself is heartbreaking. To most, this is an irreversible tragedy. The bowl is ruined. But imagine a master artisan, one who specializes in the ancient art of kintsugi. This artisan does not see a ruin. They see an opportunity. They carefully gather the broken pieces, and instead of using a clear glue to hide the damage, they mend the cracks with lacquer mixed with pure gold. The process is slow and gentle, and when they are finished, the bowl is not just whole again, it is more beautiful and valuable than it was before. The lines of its past trauma have become veins of shimmering gold, a testament to the fact that it was broken and lovingly restored. We have a compass for when we are lost in the fog of life. But what happens when the problem isn't the fog outside, but the break inside? For this most intimate of wounds, the ancient pharmacy offers a specialist. The shepherd, we learn, is also the master artisan. This is the promise of Psalm 147, verse 3. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. This is not a command to get over it. It is the description of a careful, two-part medical procedure for the soul. First, he heals the brokenhearted. He is the one who knows how to fit the shattered pieces of your heart back together, to mend the deep cracks of grief or sorrow. But the artisan's work doesn't stop there. The verse continues, and binds up their wounds. After a doctor sets a broken bone, they wrap it in a protective cast. The binding of the wound is this protective aftercare. It is the gentle comfort and security that protects your heart from further injury, while the deep internal mending takes place. This psalm is the assurance that the shepherd's care is not just for the external journey, but for the internal landscape of our deepest pains. We have seen how to find our way, how to heal our hearts, and how to cross the valley. So how can we summarize this entire journey into a single, powerful declaration of confidence that we can carry with us into any future? To partner with this healing, think of a deep cut on your own skin. The healing is a miracle that your body knows how to do, but you have a role to play. Your job is to keep the wound clean and to cover it with a gentle bandage. The bandage does not do the healing, but it creates the safe, protected environment where healing can happen. When your heart is broken, understand that the deep mending is the shepherd's work. Your work is to bind up the wound. This means being gentle with yourself. It means setting boundaries. It means giving yourself time and quiet. It means cooperating with the artisan, creating the safe space he needs to apply his healing gold to the broken pieces of your heart. My heart is in the hands of the master artisan. My broken places are not the end of my story. My wounds are being bound with care and mended with gold. Part 19. What is the Psalm's final declaration of confidence for your life? Imagine that for this entire journey together, we have been building a house. We started on the solid ground of a single decision. The Lord is my shepherd. This was our foundation. Then, piece by piece, we built the rooms of rest with green, pastures and quiet waters. We learned the artisan skill of soul restoration. We then faced the most difficult part of the construction, the central beam that must hold the entire structure, our passage through the valley of the shadow. We learned it could be navigated with the tools of the rod and staff. Then, in the very heart of that difficulty, we did the unthinkable. We threw a feast, a housewarming celebration at the table prepared for us. Finally, we received the eternal warranty for our home, the promise that goodness and mercy would be our lifelong guardians. Now, the work is done. The time has come to step back and look at what we have built. This is our final declaration of confidence. It is not one more verse, but the psalm itself, now seen as one complete blueprint for a life of unshakable peace. We learned that the starting point for all peace is in our willingness to be guided. We discovered that this guidance leads first to a place of deep strategic rest. We faced the truth that the right path will sometimes lead us into darkness, but we learned the secret that cancels all fear, the simple, powerful presence of our guide. At the peak of our trial, we were not just rescued, we were honored, anointed, and filled to overflowing. From that place of victory, we were given a permanent escort for all our future days. And finally, we were led to the ultimate destination, a permanent state of belonging, a home within ourselves that can never be taken away. This is the summary of your journey. This is the house you now inhabit. The map is complete. The house is built. We know now, with a deep and settled confidence, that we have everything we need to face any valley. The journey seems complete. But what if we have been looking at the valley with only one eye open? What if the purpose of the valley is not just to be a test we must pass? What if the valley itself is a place of transformation, a dark soil from which something beautiful and strong is meant to grow? What if we are meant to leave the valley carrying a light that we did not possess when we entered? This complete confidence, we now feel, is the final tool we need to ask that last question. It is the proof that the promise of the introduction has been fulfilled. The secret weapon has been revealed and your relationship with fear has been fundamentally transformed. You now stand on solid ground in a finished house, looking back at the valley not with fear of its return, but with a new and sacred curiosity. From this strength, a new journey of understanding can begin. For now, let this complete picture be your final declaration of faith. I have a guide. I have a path. I have a home. I have a future. I have no fear. Part 20. The psalm taught you to cross the valley, but what should you do when you leave it? Think of the creation of a pearl. It does not begin in a sunlit tide pool, but in the dark, silent, pressurized depths of the ocean. It starts not as a blessing, but as an irritant, a grain of sand that finds its way inside the oyster's shell, causing friction and pain. The oyster's response to this intruder is a miracle of quiet alchemy. It does not expel the grain of sand. It begins to coat it, layer by layer, with a luminous substance from its own being. Over time, the source of its greatest irritation is transformed into its greatest treasure. What was once a wound becomes a thing of profound beauty. The valley of the shadow is this dark, pressurized place. And the journey of this psalm has been the secret of the oyster, the divine alchemy that teaches us how to transform the sharpest irritants of our lives into pearls of wisdom and resilience. We have now learned the secret. We have the complete map from Psalm 23. We understand that the purpose of this ancient manual is to give us the tools to face any valley not with fear, but with a quiet confidence in this transformative process. You have learned that you do not have to be afraid of the valley's darkness, because it is in that very darkness that the most beautiful light within you can be forged. The promise of our introduction has been fulfilled. You have been given the secret weapon against fear, which is the unshakable presence of the shepherd. You now hold a manual for resilience that has been tested for 1,000 generations. The house of your soul is built, and you know that you are eternally safe within it. Having the tools to not fear the valley is the first essential step. But now, from this place of safety, we are ready for the next. The next step is to understand how to emerge from the valley, not just as you were before, but as someone who carries the light of the experience. In our next journey together, we will explore exactly that. The strategies for emerging from the valley of the shadow, and how to transform the darkness you have courageously crossed into the light that will guide your next steps. The psalm taught you how to survive. Now it is time to learn how to thrive. It is time to learn what to do with the pearl you have created. The journey of Psalm 23 is complete, but your story continues, now infused with a strength and a peace you may have never thought possible. You have walked the entire path, from the first step of trust to the final homecoming. You have faced the shadow and feasted in its presence. You are no longer just a traveler, hoping to find a safe path. You are now a light bearer, ready to emerge from the darkness with a story of hope to share. Rest in this victory. Let the profound peace of your new inner home settle into your very bones. You are safe, you are whole, and you are ready. My journey has a purpose. My wounds have become my wisdom. The light I carry was born in the dark.